Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the weekly legal review. I am standing in for Calvin Johnson. For Mel. He normally is here during the weekly legal review, but he's feeling under the weather. Please pray for him. But I will be your host this week for the review with Calvin Johnson. I'm your host, DJ Genesis. I'm normally in the background, like kind of doing the production, so it's gonna be a different thing for me. We're gonna do an hour of a show, but we're gonna like bring people on at about half an hour in. You would say like start
Yes,
bringing
half
people.
hour and we're good.
Okay, so we're gonna just do a quick show today. Nothing heavy. But we're just gonna kind of get into what is exactly happening in politics, in the legal field, etc. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's first start off with the whole redistricting thing. Is there any new news on that?
Well, there's not really. It's a situation where they get to redraw the lines. I heard that the Democratic Party is talking about trying to challenge those lines with lawsuits, but we just don't know how that's going to work. They do get to draw the lines because they won the election and they have control. I've heard some of the other states are going to try to correct what the people are doing in Texas and some of the red-friendly states, but I'm just concerned about that because I think that ultimately, if I'm in Texas and I had a district that was favorable to the person that I elected, not to have that anymore, there's really not any correcting that. But then there's a number of problems that cause that. A lot of it is the dictatorship that these Republicans are trying to run right now. But also, I would be remiss to not point out the inability of the Democratic Party to put us in a situation where we have winning platforms and we can win elections. They got to do a better job of getting the everyday man to vote, as opposed to championing all of these special groups of people that are under our tent. And believe me, I want to assist them in doing whatever they do to improve their lives. But I think that ultimately, if you do not get working regular people to support your party and vote, you're going to have a problem winning elections. And when you don't win elections, you get a lunatic up in there like Mr. Trump is. But I hate to say it's a lunatic, but we get somebody who is really, really, really much of acting like a dictator at times. And you shouldn't have that in a democracy. But, like I said, they won the election and we got to deal with it.
They were saying that the redistricting, what it has done is it made the blacks representation in voting, I think like 15-1 when at first it was like 5-1 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Mexicans were just below that, but now it's like that, or was I forget what the number was. Are you aware of those numbers? Like I think it was 1 out of 15.
Well, the problem is we had some districts that were kind of drawn to at least give us seats, especially in large metropolitan areas like Dallas and Houston. And now those things are gone for us. And that's something to be concerning because Texas has actually the highest African-American population in the country, so that's very tough to lose that. So with the redistricting, I think basically what they've kind of done is watered our vote down some more, which is very problematic for us.
So Jasmine Crockett, when does she is she going to be out of her seat and the other so they're pretty much out of the picture, or do they have to rerun and try
she can run in a district that she's been drawn into. Okay. So what the thing I say about that is that all is not lost yet. She'll be running in a district that may not be as favorable as the one that she had before. But the Republicans have to be very, very careful because what they can do is they can actually wake up an electorate in that particular district, or some of the people in that district may not like what the Republicans are doing. I think a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people lost their benefits. And so there's a lot going on with that a lot of people don't like. So you got to be extremely careful about what you're doing when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Have you heard of the actual number of 350,000 Black women have lost their jobs over the past 3 months? Are you aware of that?
I heard people talking about it, and very well may be the case. A lot of companies got tax breaks. They're cutting their staff. The economy is kind of iffy. Companies are trying to slim themselves down. A lot of the DEI initiatives have been kind of cut, so that's causing a problem. In addition to that, the workforce itself has been kind of trimmed, and we have a lot of educated African American women who went and got the degrees, who have positions that now don't have those positions, and that's something that that's very problematic. But I try to tell people, when you, as an African American, and even as an African American woman, we have to remember, you alone cannot win an election by yourself. And I think nobody is telling our African American women that. They can have a huge say in who wins an election, but they can't win an election by themselves. They're going to need Black men. They're going to need regular working people. They're going to need other people from other groups. And I think that we have to be careful, and even they have to be careful in the way that they engage with other parts of the electorate. We definitely understand that you want to advocate for yourself, but if somebody feels that you're only advocating for yourself and that you're not advocating for the average Joe, or you're going to advocate for people that maybe are far left, or in some of the special groups that are under the Democratic tent, and you're not going to focus on working people, the working man. And then when it comes to men, we have to be very careful in the interaction, because you're going to need a certain amount of men voters to win elections as well. And so you have to be careful about how you set your platform, how you talk, how you push your group of people voting, because some people will say, hey, you're just worried about yourself. Black men would say, hey, I know you're my sister, but you're not really focusing on us. White men will say, well, I'm going to go with the white guy. I'm going to go with the average guy. I'm going to go with the guy who's fighting for the average Joe. And the Democratic Party has kind of lost its identity in being able to focus on voting for the average Joe, and they're going to have to do something about that.
So I wanted to play a video and get your opinion on it, and it kind of has to do with this redistricting. I want to get your opinion on this video.
Okay.
Bring it up real quick.
Run it up.
Hold on, sorry. My daughter came in just suddenly. I'm like, okay, hold on.
No, it's okay. I get it.
So I'm like, oh, no, don't come in. Okay. All right, here we go.
Praise Oscar Wilde. There are two great tragedies in life. The first is not getting what you want, and the second is getting it. And that is exactly what is happening with Republicans in the Texas legislature right now. As we all know, this week, those Republicans were finally able to fulfill their fevered dreams of drawing mid-decade gerrymandered maps to basically erase Democrats from existence. And they did it. And based on these new maps, Republicans should be able to pick up 5 new seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. They got exactly what they wanted. And then immediately after they pass these and everything's approved and we're good to go, these are officially the new districts, many Republicans in the state legislature had an oopsie-doo moment where they looked at the maps again and realized, oh God, we just screwed up so badly. Because here's what happened. Yes, Republicans will get those 5 new districts. They were able to draw those lines so squiggly and curvy that they guaranteed themselves those 5 districts. But you also have to remember, in order to draw new districts, you can't create new land. You have to take from other areas. And in doing so, what these Republicans in Texas may have done, and this is what they're worried about, by creating 5 safe districts, they put 10 districts in play. So, based on their own stupidity, their own greed, their own haste to steal 5 seats, they may have lost 10. Now, here's what happened. Let me make this perfectly clear. This is not a guarantee that Democrats could end up picking up 10 seats, because the 10 districts where they kind of took people from are still light red. They're not dark red like the new 5 districts. Those are safe Republican. You got decades before you got to worry. But the light red ones include more Democrats than the others. They include more independent voters than the other districts, but still have, a Republican lean to them. But a Republican lean, as we have seen in election after election after election, sometimes doesn't mean anything at all, especially when you have a political party like the GOP that's not doing so well right now in polling. Their policies are polling very poorly. In fact, it was confirmed this week, what I've been saying for months, by the way, the One Big Beautiful Bill is officially the least popular piece of legislation since at least the year 1990. Mm-hmm. So 35 years, this is the most unpopular piece of legislation. Even Republican voters are struggling to support it. So you've pissed off Republicans with your horrific legislation. Donald Trump's approval rating continues to fall, including among Republican voters. He is now at the lowest point he has ever been through either his first or second term with Republican voters. So here's the problem these Texas Republicans face with these new 10 swing districts they've created. Republicans may not show up next year. Uh-oh. Then what? Yeah, you gained your 5 seats, but at the expense of 10.
What do you think of what he's saying so far?
He could very well have a good point, and what I have to try to explain to people.
Hold on, is he talking about those black areas when he talks about when he's saying they're like not all the way red or pure purple or whatever?
Well, this is what happens, and this is what you have to understand. It's not just color; it's also socioeconomic. So let's say that these people now that are in those red districts that always vote Republican. Let's say I lost my job. Let's say I had a government job and Trump cut it. Let's say I worked for a company and because of the policies, I lost my job. Let's say, hey, I owned the company and they deported my workers. So let's say I've decided that, hey, maybe I won't vote Democratic, but I won't show up. And so when I say I won't show up, now the Democrats, because everything is happening to them, they're going to be able to fever pitch to vote now. So what you may have done is woken up the Democratic electorate, and you may have pushed down your own, and that could lead to slim losses if you're not careful. So what they're basically talking about is if the Republicans don't get out and vote this next time, and if people are not happy with the big beautiful bill, they might not vote Democrat, but they might not vote at all. And what you might have is in those areas where you have a few more African Americans, they may band together and say, all of us gonna go vote. And then some of them people who lost their jobs, some of the companies that are not doing well, some of the people that have lost maybe some immigrants in their family or in their workforce, and maybe some people who don't like the policies themselves because they lost their jobs. They're going to say, hey, I'm going to vote this time, and hell, I ain't voting Republican. So what you can do if you're not careful, you can draw new districts, but you can't assure that those new districts will always vote Republican. Now they've drawn them in a way that they're probably going to go Republican, but if people are disenchanted with the party, then they can decide to vote another way. And if people either A, decide to vote another way, B, decide not to vote at all, and C, the Democrats and the people who lost their jobs and the other groups decide to vote, you could end up losing seats as opposed to winning seats. And you could cause yourself a problem. So that's kind of what that he's talking about. You know, it's hard people don't understand politics. It's like you can wake up an electorate in a particular area that had no chance to win before. Now they got a little bit of a chance to win. Now they're going to vote. And not only do they have a little bit of a chance to win, you got a whole group of folks who may have lost their jobs that don't like the policies because the policies hurt them. And they're saying either A, I'm not going to vote, but I'll vote for the Democrats this time just because I want my job back.
Wow.
They probably me my job back. So, you know, that could actually happen. So you got to be very careful about that. So that's another way to look at that.
So it seemed like a lot of Trump's laws are kind of putting things back into the hands of the state versus federal, like by getting rid of the Department of Education and making the state be responsible for it. Do you think that this is a good policy?
I think part of the problem with that when it comes to education, yeah, he's doing it, but he's cutting the funding to education. I think that's going to hurt. And I think it's going to hurt the red states more than the blue states, because I'm going to be honest with you, the red states seem to be less educated than the blue states when it comes down to it. They have the far worse education systems. But I also think that, to be honest, and some of the Democratic people in the Democratic Party may not like this, and I still consider myself a Democrat, but I will, if I don't like something they're doing, I won't vote their way. But I will tell you, there are some policies that regular, normal people like myself, and I say normal, but regular, average people like myself, when it comes to putting stuff in front of kids, when it comes to some issues about some of the stuff being taught in school, being pushed on our children, when it comes to abortion, some people who have religious reasons why they don't support abortion. You got some people and that are not completely down with everything that LGBTQ does. There's a number of problems that they have that everybody has to be concerned with, and so those are the types of things that you got to be aware of. Mm-hmm. Because when it comes to schools, do you want the government always telling your your kids that they can transition, they can change? Do you want them discussing sex and
Absolutely
picking
not.
sex at certain ages and those types of things? And you know what I tell people, I've seen plenty of people and give arguments for supporting that, but hey, I get it. You have a right to feel like you feel, but you ain't got a right to push that on me and my kids.
Right.
And that's my job to do, and you're not going to do that. And anything that supports you trying to do that, I'm not with that. And that's a problem for the Democrats. Like I said, average people want to be able to do average things, and they're not taking average positions sometimes. They're being bold, and don't get me wrong, there's something wrong with being bold, but and being bold in the wrong direction for some people, those people are not either going to stay home or not vote for you.
Okay, so some says you only have a few states that this will affect education. Like for instance, New York City, and you have the 5 boroughs. They relied on the Borgio education system, and it was government funded.
Well, it's not just New York; it's all over the country. You got other large metropolitan areas that are going to be affected. You got places like California that may be getting less funding. You got Texas, who they're trying to make people post the 10 Commandments actually in the classrooms now. And a lot of people are moving away from public schools because of some of the policies that's being pushed in there. And see Chicago. I mean, people have to understand large metropolitan areas like Dallas, Houston, LA, Chicago, and New York. The 5 largest metropolitan areas in the country are New York, 1, LA 2, Chicago 3, Dallas 4, Houston 5. And Dallas has more people because of the Metroplex area, because of our suburbs.
Right. So so Trump plans to close 2,400 schools by next year?
We don't know if he's going to be able to do that. There might not be the funding for that, but at the same time, those people in that those communities are going to fight for their schools because they don't want to go so far away to be able to do certain things. I don't know if he's going to be able to close 2,400 schools. I think they'll try to figure out ways to get different funding. And he may get some pushbacks because one thing we understand that everybody ain't going to continue to rubber step what he's doing. These midterms are going to be interesting. If he starts losing a lot of seats congressionally in the House, some of those people that are in positions are not going to always vote his way. So I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. And I think that people should fight that. You should go to your local legislator and try to make sure that they understand what you want and try to do that from there.
Richard Shoemaker says Texas just spent billions on education, and he just said that Texas teachers just received the largest pay raise ever.
One of the things that I have experienced, that believe it or not, I used to represent the largest teachers union in the state of Texas, Alliance AFT. I was a general counsel for 5 years. Most people don't know that. So I work with a lot of teachers, and yeah, they got somewhat of a pay raise, but they're still underpaid when you look at it. They do a lot of stuff. They have to do a lot of classroom hours. There's a lot of requirements. There's not enough time in the day to do what they're paid to do, and they have to grade papers, and they have to make sure that they meet certain requirements. So they deserve a raise because it's very hard making money off a teacher's salary with all the inflation. A lot of teachers have resorted to taking second jobs or working on the weekends or doing extra stuff at school. So those people needed a raise. They deserve that. I mean, at the end of the day, anybody that's going to help mold and teach my children to be adults and to be productive, I want to pay them properly so they can do the best job that they can do.
Well, speaking of you and your service to the community, tell us a little bit about yourself as a lawyer.
Well, I've been 24 years doing criminal defense work. I also worked for Alliance AFT, which is the largest teachers union in the state of Texas. I've worked for Chris Bosh and the basketball player, and when Chris Bosh Foundation, where we do a lot of work in the community, and we did a lot of stuff with students. We gave tennis shoes away, back to school events, and we did pre-SAT prep courses. In addition to that, I also have a thing called the Sarum Foundation, and what we do is, I'm on the board of Sarum Foundation, and what we do is we do a lot of neighborhood cleanups, rehabbing people's houses that are senior citizens that can't pay to do certain things in their house. We try to come out and help them get up to code, and so we do a lot of work in the community, and we volunteer a lot. I'm very active in the local neighborhood associations, especially the ones that are in South Dallas. And like I said, I've been serving the community for the last 24, almost 25 years. So I try to do a lot of work, and I can be reached at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com as my email. My phone number is 214-565-5600. And I can be reached at the website they won't let me out.com. Just like the song, they won't let me out, they won't let me out.com. So
They
that's my
won't let me out. I'm locked up.
exactly.
And right, and we are broadcast. We are doing a simul stream on Mel's Watching the World. Please pray for him. He's not feeling too well. Please pray for his speedy recovery. I'm DJ Genesis, and I'm covering for him. Normally, I'm in the background, being the producer of the show. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. At DJ Genesis and Watching the World 777. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So let's, without further ado, I want to kind of like switch gears and kind of get into the current situation where you have National Guard being utilized as a new police force. What do you? I wanted to I want to play a little bit of video and show what's going on and just get an idea of what you think about it.
Okay.
It's a unique sight indeed to see members of the National Guard wearing fatigues and carrying weapons and walking around the nation's capital as locals and tourists go about their day. But that's exactly what's happening in Washington right now, as members of the National Guard are helping with President Donald Trump's mission to lower crime and homelessness right here in Washington, D.C. There are currently over 2,200 National Guard members mobilized in the District of Columbia. Now, it's worth noting, not all of them are currently carrying weapons, only some of them, and they are here to assist local law enforcement on a broader mission of lowering these crime and homelessness rates. Now, some of these Guard members are coming from the District of Columbia National Guard and 6 other Republican-led states whose governors sent them here to assist on this mission. It's also worth noting that National Guard members have been seen cleaning areas and carrying garbage bags in what they are saying is part of a broader beautification effort to improve neighborhoods.
So what do you think about that? Do you think that is a great depiction of what's going on with the National Guard in D.C.?
I think a lot of it is politically motivated, where Trump can come in and clean up some of the rough crime areas, especially in some of the Democratic-led cities. The problem is in some of the Democratic-led cities, we have been trying to not say go light on crime, but they try to make sure that people's civil rights are not violated. But with that being said, sometimes some policies are implemented that do some harm, like maybe not going and prosecuting theft cases over a certain amount of money. There's a lot of drug dealing, carjacking, and some of the violent crime in some of these areas because there's not enough people willing to police those areas, and those major cities are not paying enough to risk your life in a dangerous area, and they're not paying you enough money as a police officer. So that's been a problem. And then even some of the police forces there have kind of been limited by some of the legislation that has been recently passed in terms of going lighter on crime to alleviate some of the incarceration rates that are prominent in the democratically led cities. But the problem that I have is, hey, it's good to clean up the crime. I want crime cleaned up. That's not the issue. The issue for me is you got to be very careful when you do that, because short term, that may be cleaning the crime up. But when you start taking action like this, it sets a precedent of the next time something happens, the federal government can just step in areas and take over areas that have elected sheriffs, that have elected police departments, that have people that they already pay to do that job. And so that's the concern I have, especially with Trump. He's being extremely selective in going to blue states and doing this. When I say going into blue states and doing it, he's doing it in New York and Chicago and Los Angeles, places where that he knows that he doesn't have good relationships with the governor. So he's trying to do this in a way that's very politicized. But at the same time, there are a lot of people in those African-American communities that say, hey, look, I'm tired of the crime. I'm tired of the violent crime. I'm tired of the carjacking. I'm tired of the stat jugging. Stat jugging is where they play around with the stats to get people to get crime rates down that are actually kind of watered down crime reports to say that crime is going down when it's actually not. That has been a problem in D.C. recently, where they said that the crime rates that are being reported to the community are different from the ones that get reported to the government, and they're different from the ones that are actually happening. So when you have this kind of stuff happening, short term it can be good, but long term I think it sets a bad precedent for people who elect those people in those communities to actually fight crime. You know, we all want crime down. I'm not fighting that, but when you take the power away from the people that are elected to do it, and you set departments up to do that, you don't want to start stepping on their foot.
What is the difference between getting stopped by a police officer and stopped by a National Guards member? Like, do they have the same rules that they have to follow as a police officer, or everything is all martial? And
No, they
and what
they
is the
they, they
difference?
do. They do. They have to have probable cause to stop and question you. The problem is a lot of these states have included these ID laws where officer can just stop and ask for your ID, and you have to identify yourself. A lot of people in the past, if you've seen some of the stops that were on the news, people didn't want to identify themselves, and I don't have to tell you who I am. You have to tell me why you stopped me. I have to identify myself. But they're able to stop and make you identify yourself, and then from there start to question you about things. And they still are held to those standards. You just got to make sure you got to get a lawyer and make sure you understand what they can and cannot do to you. But at the same time, that's a problem because a lot of people don't understand what they can and cannot do. Like, for example, you have to identify yourself. So when you don't identify yourself, a lot of people are losing it there. When I say they're losing it there, you stop me, I don't identify myself. Now I can arrest you. Now I can look at everything else you're doing. So sometimes we got to be smart to know what we can and can't do. Identify yourself. And then after that, they try to jump to other stuff. No, you can't do that. No, you can't search my car. No, you can't do this. You don't have a reason to do this and this, and you can go into that stuff. But when you don't identify yourself, you're creating a situation to allow the officers to continue to inquire what you're doing, why you're there, and how you're doing whatever you're doing.
And I know that you had mentioned that a lot of time people try to have court on the side of the road or wherever they're being stopped at, and that's probably not the time to do that. If you want to have court, have it in court.
That's stupid. Yeah, I think that's stupid. I think when I say it's stupid, a lot of people think that they can. I'm smart as police officers, smart as the lawyers, I'm smart as this and that. No, you're not. I mean, let's be honest. Whatever you do for a living, you do for a living. These police officers, they're going to be able to do stuff because they're doing it every day, all day, 7 days a week, sometimes for years. When you have to defend your own rights, you're only doing it here and there. You're not doing it every day. You're not doing it every day like a lawyer. You're not doing it every day like a police officer. Chances are you're not going to be able to match up with them just because they've been doing it a lot longer and a lot more than you do it. And you have to realize that and admit that, and then try to be very careful with your interactions with law enforcement.
You know, I see a lot of things where you have this thing called obstruction. I see a lot of people get caught on that obstruction charge. What do you think that they could just throw that out there anyway, like that if you're
they're not throwing it out
back,
there.
That's considered obstruction.
They're not throwing it out there. What's happening is because you're trying to go back and forth with them, you don't give them their IDs. You're yelling. They're trying to question somebody else, and you're getting in the way of that. You're cutting into what they're doing. You're trying to move them out of the way. You're trying to tell other people what they can and can't do. When you start doing that stuff in the middle of their investigation, and let's say you're around them and they're questioning somebody else, and you're walking up on them, and they tell you to stop and you don't want to do that. That obstruction stuff is going to be easy to prove because they have a right to maintain their safety. A lot of people out here, when you're going up against these officers, a lot of folks are running out here losing their head when they're dealing with these officers, but they need to have a smarter approach because obstruction is going to be easy to prove. Because if you're interfering with them questioning somebody and stepping in and walking toward them and grabbing stuff and impeding whatever they're trying to do, because you think you have a right to is something that causes a problem that people don't understand that they don't have a right to. And then they get in the middle of doing it, and then they find out that they're obstructing. And that stuff is easy to prove. It's easy to prove you're kind of getting in the way. But once again, that's that thing where you're trying to show that you're smarter than your officers, you're smarter than a lawyer. You're not. So let's stop trying to be that.
So tell me this. What if you say, I don't want to be a part of your investigation? Like, I don't want to help your investigation. Is that also...
You don't have to. That's not obstruction.
Is that considered obstruction when you say that?
You don't have to answer their questions. Once you identify yourself, I'm not answering any more questions without a lawyer. We're not doing this. And
then they can arrest you for obstruction at that point.
No, they can't. It depends on what else is going on. If they smell weed, if there's something they can see in a car, if that kind of stuff. At that point, they can't. You can just say, no, at this point, I want to speak to my lawyer. If you don't have any other reason to detain me, then you need to let me go. And see, the problem is that some people Well, what if they don't let me know and they keep going? Well, on the body cam, let's say they are still arrest you and they still do what they do, but you hire a lawyer like myself. And then I'm going to say, hey, at that point, that officer did not have the right to continue to question this person. So I'm going to do a motion to suppress, and I'm going to try to get everything that happened after that thrown out. And so a motion to suppress basically is something that says, hey, from this point on, everything else was obtained illegally. And since this was obtained illegally, they can't use it against you. And so let's say you told them you want your lawyer and they keep trying to talk to you, they keep questioning you, and they try to force you to give them information, and they do that. But you told them you wanted your lawyer, you didn't want to continue to do whatever was going on. Then your lawyer will come back and help you with that. But on the side of the road, you should not be trying to give them all of that information. And sometimes you can assert your rights, they can still keep going, but your lawyer will be able to come back and clean it up. So you got to be aware of that.
Well, shouts out. We do have a super chat. Jacoby Williams. Well, thank you for the super chat. To all the Black Trump supporters, would leave your underage daughter alone in the company with Trump? Would you leave your underage daughter alone in the company with Trump?
No, I won't leave my underage daughter in under any man's control,
Exactly.
especially not him. Especially not him, based on what I've seen him do and how he looks at women. In the past, I mean, there's a situation, the escalator, he was watching the escalator ride down, girls ride down the escalator. Plus, I think him as well as Clinton and others have some ties to Mr. Epstein. So without being able to bring all of this stuff into the light, hell no.
Yeah.
Not just him.
So we're in the part of the show where we are interactive. If there's anyone who wants to come up and join us and ask Calvin any questions, please feel free to hit the link. There goes the link to the StreamYard. Please check that link there. Please come up if you want to say anything or you have anything to say. And please be respectful, guys. And so we're going to just be asking audience questions and going over the audience discussion from this one. So Eric Nickerson says, people that don't know how to talk to police or high authority grew up talking to their parents the same way.
And that's true a lot of the time. It's not always true, but let's be honest. The respect for adults that we had in the previous generation, people don't have anymore. I was helping a client one time, and her mouth was just all over the place, and I was trying to help her. I was doing her a huge favor. She made some mistakes. I waited to help her with hers, and then when she had to wait for me, she got extremely mouthy with me. And I try to tell people the yesterday's values are not today's values. And I will say that I agree with that a lot. I see that a lot. People who talk to police crazy talk to their parents crazy or other people in authority crazy that they shouldn't talk crazy to. And see, that's a problem. You got to respect people's authority. You got to respect your elders. And I think that's a lot that's missing, especially in the African-American community. We have lost the ability to control our children sometimes. And I think we need to do a better job of that. But that's a whole nother argument. I think there needs to be more male figures in households to provide that. Not saying that women can't, but men need to be in these households providing some discipline so that the women can provide the other things that they provide to the children. I think it's best to have some discipline and some love coming from both parents. But men and women are uniquely situated to be able to do certain things. And if you have one doing what they should do and the other doing what they should do, I think it's just the best way to go. If you have that, if you can't, if you're a single mother, single father, you have to do what you got to do. But at the same time, I think that there is less respect for authority. And I see that a lot in the African-American communities or even some of the poor communities. But also that can cut the different way too as well, because sometimes the police officers take advantage of people in those situations, and they are extremely harsh and can be disrespectful to people as well. So that kind of cuts both ways. But I agree with what Mr. Nickerson said.
I see. This is where it gets weird. Now, once you start interacting with National Guard and military people who have a certain level of respect and understanding of authority, this is where I think that, maybe people might back off of that whole back mouthing because they don't even know what this military person might be able to do that a police officer might not.
Mm-hmm.
let's get into the things that in Chicago and Baltimore, they're threatening to deploy the National Guard. Let's hear this story.
200 National Guard troops seen patrolling the nation's capital, spotted at train stations and outside national monuments. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says some of those troops are armed.
They're armed, capable of defending themselves and others if need be, supporting law enforcement, and we're proud to be there, sir.
The Guard stationed around tourist attractions and the metro, not in Washington's most high crime areas, according to reports. Police officials say crime in D.C. is at a 30-year low. Despite that, the president is calling the deployment of the National Guard troops a measure to address out-of-control crime in the nation's capital, also saying Chicago desperately needs help. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker urging the president to back down.
This is not about fighting crime. This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city, in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals.
Trump is also threatening to.
Do you think that this is a political move to intimidate political rivals?
Hell yes, it is. I mean, and that's the thing. See, I'm no fool. Like I said, temporarily, people like to see crime reduced, and they want to see authority figures in the community to calm down some of the bad stuff that was happening in those places. But it's straight political. They're literally going into blue states like Chicago, like LA, and Baltimore, those are blue states, and they want to gain control, especially when you have places like Chicago, where we know there are guns left and right. I had a friend had a restaurant there, and he moved his location finally, but you used to have to get patted down and walk in there. It's supposed to be an upscale restaurant, but he had to because Chicago is so tough with guns. And then you got places like Baltimore, Baltimore actually has a nickname that I heard when I was watching The Wire. They call it Bodymore Murderland instead of Baltimore, Maryland. So,
Bodymore Murderland. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so because of all the stuff that is happening there and the high homicide rates that happen there and the inability of maybe local law enforcement to control everything because of all the crime. But we know that this is a political ploy. This isn't about helping. It temporarily, it actually is going to help some people because it's going to calm down some crime when you got federal officers around. It's going to have a short-term effect, but the long-term effects are going to be very chilling at times because now you have federal law enforcement in areas, and then who's going to check them? So when I say he's going to check them, like when you have a state law enforcement hand doing something, if you think you have a problem with it, you go to the feds. But what if it's the feds themselves that are causing the problem? Who do you go to correct them?
Well, here's the question. Like it seems like currently, like they're mainly in the DC area where like the monuments are. They're not like in Southeast or wherever the like really hood is.
No, listen, let me explain something to you about DC, right? I don't know how often you've been to DC. Like,
it's been a while. I used to live there, but it's been a long time. Like
I've been there several times, and I'm going to tell you what people don't understand. Like the way the DC neighborhoods are, it's kind of weird. You may have 2 or 3 blocks are great, and then you have a crummy block next to it, and then you'll go another 2 blocks and it'll be great again. And then that's the problem. I remember going for a walk, and we didn't know where we were going. This was the day, the time before you had the phones and the GPS and all that other stuff. But as we walked a block too far in the wrong direction, I kind of noticed, because I'm a hood guy, I kind of noticed, and I was like, everybody stop. Everybody stop. I said, this ain't right. We got to go back. And they're like, what? Nah, I don't feel right. Like, I can tell my hood radar went off. We got to go back that way. Because I already saw people looking. I saw a guy, saw another guy, and I was like, nah, they ain't right. We're going in the wrong direction. And I'm telling you, you in certain DC is kind of different. It's not like everything's segregated and separated. You may have 3 blocks of great neighborhood, then 2 blocks of crappy neighborhoods, and then 3 blocks of great neighborhoods. So it's different on DC. So you got to be careful with that.
And it could look nice and be a bad neighborhood.
Yeah. So that's the thing, But ultimately, I think that he's attacking blue cities, blue large cities that have large Democratic voting blocks. He's trying to limit that because people have to understand. And some of these elections, even when the Democrats won, all the small areas around the states were red, and they'd vote 90% a certain way, 95% a certain way, 85% a certain way. But when the big cities tallies came in, that's when the elections were won. And so Trump, I think, has targeted these big cities, and you got to be very, very careful. And I think more importantly, African Americans have to be very careful. And the reason why I say this is because of this. When you look at the Democratic Party, they're starting to champion far left stuff, LGBTQ, a lot of women's rights stuff, a lot of immigrant rights stuff, that kind of stuff. But then some people in the African American community feel left out. And those people are starting to do two things. Some of them are voting Republican, and some of them are not voting at all. And I think the Democratic Party needs to be extremely careful about African Americans and their inability to effectuate progress in those communities, because there are a lot of people in those communities that feel like we've been voting Democrat for 40, 50, 60 years. We haven't had the change we need to have. So the Democratic Party needs to be extremely careful about how it's treating the Black electorate itself. And then even with the Black electorate, our Black women got to be very, very careful about how they cover themselves during election times and when they are in positions of power. Because, you can't win an election by yourself. You're going to need other people. You're going to need Black men. You're going to need some white men. You're going to need some of the other groups to step up and vote your way, or you're not going to win elections. So we have to be very careful as a whole when we start talking about that stuff.
Junie Lewis says, where was the National Guard January 6th?
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I always have to tell people that January 6th thing, people don't really pay enough attention to it. When I say pay enough attention to it, what if those people would have got in there to Congress, and let's say they would have got in there and they would have hurt somebody. Let's say they would have got in there and hurt Auntie Maxine. We always call her Auntie Maxine.
Right.
But let's say they got in there and they hurt somebody. Like somebody actually sat on Nancy Pelosi's desk and did all kind of stuff and took stuff out and did all this kind of stuff. What if they would have actually gotten in there, right? I mean, and people have to understand how serious that was, because it's like me, like if I'm in Congress and they get in there, let's say they try to go after my life and you don't do anything to them, I'm gonna feel like I got to go get them myself. Like I'm gonna try to take care of myself. And so that could have been a very, very ugly situation. Yeah. Or let's say somebody gets in and kills or seriously hurts Maxine Waters, and she's an old Black woman. What do you think the Black community is going to do? They have to do something.
It's going to be an issue, yeah.
You just can't let it ride. And so these are the things that people are not really thinking about.
And I'm starting to see like people like the Black Panthers and stuff mobilize, just like they did with that trucker down in North Carolina.
Yeah.
When they kind of like forced that guy out of North Carolina, out of that dump site, threatened him, tipped his trailer over, and now it seems like there's Black Panthers like that are coming out and starting to like protest. So it seems like it's getting kind of volatile. So here's the thing. Bobby's channel says, as long as they don't go inside the Black communities, because right now they're at airports or train stations, that means nothing. But when they start going door to door harassing Black people, that's when it could be dangerous.
Well, see, that's the thing that could happen. And I'm not saying that's not happening now, but it could happen, and that could be a problem because you don't want people doing that to you, number one. And number two, there's some people that use the comments, we're not our ancestors. And I hate when people do that, because I feel like our ancestors really had to fall. They were really in a tough position where they had to do what they had to do. But you got a lot of folks that are not going to put up with certain things or certain behaviors coming from law enforcement or coming from the federal government. People have a right to defend their homes. They have a right to be free. They have a right to not be harassed. And they have to be careful when you don't trust your government. Maybe you feel like they're going to come in and start doing stuff to you that they shouldn't do to you. And you got to be very careful about that, because that can be a very, very, very volatile situation. And let's say the National Guard are down for a few months and people are okay with it. But let's say it becomes an occupation. Mm-hmm. And when I say an occupation where they're everywhere and they start to do stuff like that, that's not going to be a cool thing. That's going to cause some problems.
It's going to be scary. And here's the thing. Like, think about this in Chicago where you have gangs and stuff. Like, if you're starting to take over like places like that. So like then, I think that in DC, I'm not sure if it's as much gangs in DC, but where Chicago is more of a gang group, So
yeah, and
that might be a difference in how they take on like these people, the National Guard trying to come up in there and tell them what to do when this is their territory and this, that, the other. Like, do
But
you
you know
think
why
Black
Chicago
people-
has a lot of gangs, right?
well, they used to be Black Panthers, didn't they? Or
No,
like,
it's not just about that. Like, there's a number of reasons why Chicago has a lot of gangs. They have a lot of gangs because of history, and they have a lot of gangs because Chicago is one of the hubs for the cartels to deliver drugs to. They ship a lot of drugs and guns to Illinois, and
oh wow.
Chicago's a cartel hub. And
So
people
that's
don't understand that.
interesting. And see, and let me tell you that this now my full hat is getting put on to want to get the military involved out there, and now you have all these cartels and gangs, and now you got that's a recipe right there.
You recently had the Flores brothers. The Flores brothers were two brothers who turned on El Chapo, and they were in Chicago. They ran everything in Chicago. Chicago was their hub. Chicago was their northern hub.
And wait, does Chicago border another Canada at all? Like not Chicago, but Illinois?
They're in Illinois. Chicago is in Illinois.
But that doesn't border, because I know Detroit is a hub too, because it's right at the border of Canada. So a lot of like drug stuff comes in and out of Detroit.
Yeah,
that's how that BMF was real big.
Yeah, BMF was big up in Detroit, but the Flores brothers, who actually turned on El Chapo and actually testified against El Chapo, they were in Chicago. They ran everything in Chicago, and that's the problem. You got Black gangs historically that were there, and then you got a lot of Hispanics, believe it or not, a larger Hispanic population in Chicago than you think there was. Wow. And you have the cartels delivering a bunch of drugs and guns up there. So that's a recipe for disaster. So, you know, that's another thing within itself.
Wow. So that's what that's about. So yeah, I think and then it makes sense why this mayor is feeling the way he is, because I mean it's probably they probably have to have some level of compliance, so to speak.
The problem with Chicago's mayor, the problem with Chicago's mayor is twofold. He has Trump running in there doing what he's doing to him, but the problem that he has is he spent a lot of money on immigrants, and they're $1.1 billion in a hole, and he spent $600 million taking care of people that are not even citizens. And that's the problem that we have with with Chicago. And so not only do you have a problem with spending $600 million on immigrants, you got people, Black people, for the last 60 years up there that's been asking for help in their communities and rebuilding their communities. And they just saw $600 million being spent on people that were not even citizens here. And the optics of that, they're just horrible. But once again, when you try to talk to the Democratic Party about stuff like that, they don't want to hear it. And I'm going to be, transparent with you. That's my attitude. Like if I ever run for office again, which I don't know if I'm going to, I'm going to be very upfront and honest with people about the party itself. Like we got to make some changes or we're not going to win any elections. And this lunatic is going to get in here. And once again, like I said before, you got Chicago having its problems with you bringing all these people in here, but a lot of the Black people are not complaining because they're like, there are too many immigrants in there and the immigrants are doing stuff and they're out of control there and they've been given all this money and they're doing all this stuff in their communities. And then they got the money that the Black folks didn't. And I think the Democrats have been, they were not really thinking about this well enough, right? When I say think about this well enough, when you spend that kind of money on immigrants and you don't spend it on your most loyal voting bloc, which the most loyal voting bloc in the Democratic Party that votes the highest rates are African-American females at about 90% and African-American males at 80%. When you don't take care of those two groups and they vote for you more than anybody else and you take care of immigrants that can't even vote, that's not a smart move. So
I mean, lately Trump has ended the lifelong Section 8 vouchers. So I say that now here's the thing. You have the end of the Section 8 vouchers, and you have 350,000 jobless women, and women tend to at the moment be to make up the majority of the single mothers, right? Are making up a large amount of the caretakers of the children, right?
Do you want me to? I hate to get into this,
okay,
but a lot of people feel like the Democratic Party, and I'm not saying that they're doing this, but I think that in a sense they are doing this. I think they've supported a lot of policies that separate us in our homes. And I think that we push a lot of policies to not have nuclear families, like having one male and one female person in a household, or two-parent households, however you want to say it. I don't want to offend anybody.
Having babies is their job. Who put that? Stop.
No, the whole deal is people got to understand, like, when your marriage rates for African American women are not that high, what happens is you have one parent household trying to pay bills that two people could be paying.
Right.
So you got the male and the male paying 2 light bills, 2 water bills, 2 bills for this, 2 bills for that. And that money in that household is not going as far. And then we don't spend our money properly anyway. So that's another problem within itself. We don't have enough traditional families to be able to absorb what's happening with the economy. And then I think there's some of the policies, if you listen to Sister Shahrazad Ali, who talks about this back in the day when she went to a Florida housing project, and one of the people came to her and said, yeah, we have this huge complex and we have no men in here, and they're not allowed to have any men in these households. And she looked at them and said, what? She said, that doesn't make any sense. And they looked at her like she was crazy. And she was like, no, I mean, having a man and a woman in the household, either with two economies, 2 salaries, or let one work, one take her stuff with the kids, that's, you got to have that. And now it makes it easier. I mean, it makes sense. But they said that they pushed all of these public housing vouchers, all of this governmental assistance, and then they made rules where men cannot be in the households. And then you have the social media right now where people feel like, I don't need a man. I don't need a black man this, black man that. And then black men start to feel a type of way with our black women. And we cannot get on one accord. And we better get on one accord as a people, because if we don't, we're going to be hurt. Black men and black women are going to be hurt by what's happening out here. We need to be careful about who we have babies with, and we got to be careful about not being together. We got to stick together. We got to get back to sticking together. Like, if we don't do that, we're going to be in trouble. And a lot of people don't want to admit that.
I also think that the time of like just throwing your kids out of school, the house at 18, that's going to be not as a smart thing to do. Because right now they said that people that end up homeless and things like that, that they can actually put them into like mental facilities.
Well, see, the deal is, I don't know if they're doing that now. Like, I don't think that's going to be a big deal. I just think it's going to be a big deal when you turn 18 and you can't afford to either go to school or afford your own apartment. There are going to be a lot of people that are living with their parents longer. I've seen people do that, live with their parents' house longer, or maybe even while they're in college, or delaying moving out of the house. But once again, in our families, we're going to have to get back to trying to have some 2-parent households and start making some better decisions when it comes to who we're having kids with, because it's easier when you got 2 incomes coming in the house, or at least one income coming in and the other one taking care of the stuff that you ain't got to pay for. So, we got to start thinking about certain policies. Are they good for us as a family? I mean, are some of the things that are being pushed by the Democratic Party good for Black people as a whole? Is it good enough to replenish the Black race of people that are being born into this world? Is it good enough to create households that can afford the bills to be able to pay and have a decent standard of living? Black people have to start asking themselves that. And sometimes we're afraid to have those conversations because we don't want to make certain groups of people upset. But we got to start thinking about those things.
He is right off the money about the nuclear family. The Democrats do not believe in the nuclear family. This will be a big part of our demise.
It is. It's already a big part of our demise. I talk to people about this all the time. Some people say, man, listen, I have friends that are in the LGBTQ community. I love them. They are great people. I have some friends that are that. And whatever they choose to do, I say, their life, they get to live it. But as a person who has a family, a wife and a daughter, I want our household to be together, and I want to see more households like that be together and be fruitful, to have more of us born into this world so that we can set examples for additional nuclear families with mom and dads in them with children, so that we can be able to afford all of this increased cost of living. And some people will look at me, you're anti this and anti that. I'm not anti any of that. I'm pro understanding what we need to do as a people, and we need to be honest with our people about that and quit trying to do everything that's politically correct without really dealing with our own issues. Like, it's okay to deal with everybody's issues, but we got our own issues. And as somebody voting 90 and 80% of the party, we need to make sure we get our shit taken care of as opposed to always worrying about everybody else. And not to say we have to be selfish, but we need to be smart enough to make sure that policies that are being pushed are going to put us in situations to succeed.
You know, and so oh wait, someone says that the guest is a feminist. She wants women to control stuff. If a woman can't have an abortion, that means a man should be able to walk away from the child too and not pay child support.
I mean, the guest is a feminist. She wants women to control stuff. If a woman can have an abortion, that means a man should be able to walk away from his child too and not pay child support. I just, when it comes to that kind of stuff, I don't want to have to tell people whether they can have an abortion or not. Am I pro-abortion? With all the trouble that we had just trying to get my daughter here, I'm not in favor of abortion, but if somebody wants to do that, I don't want to be able to tell them that they can't do that. Religiously, based on what the Bible says, because I'm not, I'm being transparent, you're not really supposed to do that. But at the same time, I can't tell somebody to have my values and tell them what they can and can't do with their bodies. I don't want to do that. But I'm not in support of creating situations where there are not more of us being born, because at the same time,
the birth rates are going down. Isn't the birth rates going down? I mean, how many abortions do you need? Pretty soon ain't gonna be nobody getting born and we're gonna be extinct. I mean, you want to push abortion so hard. Well, I mean, just because you don't want to have children, but you don't want to be responsible for the child, but you want to have sex, and then you want to push for you want to say, okay, well, just kill the child. Well, it's like, I don't understand the mindset behind that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this too. There's a guy named Bishop Wooden who I watch sometimes. He talks about birth rates and some of the policies that the Democratic Party is pushing, and abortion, as well as some of the other stuff far left, is creating a situation in the African American community where we're not regenerating enough a population to replace people that are going to die off, and people that are living are either having abortions or not creating situations where they're having children. And so the percentages of Black people in America is going to fall. And that's the thing that, as Black people as a whole, we got to start talking about. I mean, should we be pushing policies that are going to reduce our numbers? And those are the things that some people don't want to talk about because it may offend somebody else, but we got to get past offending somebody else. We got to be like, hey, look, we understand how you feel over there. We're definitely going to try to help you in doing what you're doing. But at the same time, Black people need certain things, and we have to have certain things happen. And we got to quit being afraid to say that, even when we're under this Democratic tent. And that's the problem, too. The Democratic Party does not deal with dissension well. So if you have an idea that does not fit their platform, they don't want you to talk about it. And that shit got to stop, because we're having some serious problems in my communities. So we need to have a conversation. It can't be, we support this and you can't even say anything about it. We can't even talk about it. No, that got to stop.
Vineyard says, so listen, we're about to be wrapping it up. I was trying to see if anybody wanted to join. We've kind of had that StreamYard link out there. We're kind of like,
I'm gonna give you 5 more minutes. I'm gonna go to 8:05.
Oh, okay. So we got about 5 more minutes. If anyone wants to come up and just ask a question or make a statement, please hit the link.
I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this comment. It says, "What needs to happen is just Black family morals need to come back. Even TV shows today are absolute garbage for children's brains. There's nothing today like Family Members of Full House." And I think that they're right with that. I was watching some of the stuff that BET puts out, and I was just like, man, what is this? This is crazy. And it seems like I was listening to a podcast. You remember Big Red from the 5 Heartbeats?
Yeah. Yeah.
Big Red from 5 Heartbeats. My office hours are 9 to 5. People talk about that.
right.
He's the guy, right? But he talks about that in Hollywood right now. If you don't have an LGBTQ character in a play, if you don't have a gay scene, if you're not pushing some of that, they will not make your content. They will not buy your screenplay. They will not buy your script.
Didn't Snoop Dogg just say something about that, and then he had to like apologize or something like that?
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. I don't think he should have had to. I think that he went to a kids movie, just want to watch the movie, and I think he was just thinking like he wasn't ready for the question to be asked to him. He didn't have an answer for it, some people say, yeah, he knew how to answer that. And he used to answer it like this. No, you had an answer you wanted him to give his grandson, but maybe he is choosing not to give his grandson that answer. Maybe he doesn't even want to talk about that at that age, at that point. And people wanted to point out all the music and all the stuff that Snoop did in the back in the day, man. That's not
But
what
is
we're
that for
talking about
kids?
now. We're talking about him and his grandkids. We're talking about a Disney kids movie. A Disney kids movie should not be pushing certain things. I'm just sorry, they shouldn't. And I don't believe that they should be doing that.
But
and it's not the time.
You
And
know
I
what's
don't
so
think they
funny
should
is
be doing
that
it.
there were so many subliminal messages when we were watching the Looney Tunes. That Bugs Bunny was black and he was cotton picking rabbit. So there was
Yeah.
all kind of little sneaky stuff that they were doing in our cartoons, but we didn't catch up on it. But right now they're just being blatant in your face with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and there was some kind of subliminal stuff like Snagglepuss, like some of the other stuff. Like people know, that's the kind of thing. Like people knew there were little subliminal things, but people are being so out front with it now. And then if I take my kid to see a Disney movie, what Snoop saw, two women having a baby, whatnot, I'm not going to be prepared to like literally see that. Like I'm watching a kids movie. In my day, kids movie didn't have that in them. So Snoop's coming from an era where they didn't have that in them. And now he's going to see a kids movie. He's like, he wasn't ready to answer that. He didn't want to go into that. He didn't want to go explain that to a kid in the middle of a movie. So, but people got mad at him. I don't think it's a big deal. But some people got butthurt behind it and start throwing shots at Snoop just because.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Butthurt.
And when I say butthurt, the reason why I say that, just because he did not push the answer that you wanted him to give the kid, now you don't like him. And I think that's just bullshit. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
Right.
But, and it's nothing against them. I mean, they can do what they want to do and they can teach their kids what they want to teach their kids. But I shouldn't have to sit in a freaking Disney movie and even have to go through all of it.
Have to explain the birds and bees with your 4-year-old.
You don't want to do that in a Disney movie. That's not what's there for.
Yeah, why do they have to include that in every movie? It's almost like they have to shoot the person in the behind too.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a comedy, they have to shoot the person in the behind or whatever. Remember that whole thing that they were talking about?
Yeah.
So abortions are horrible for the Black community. Since 1970s, over 20 million Black babies have been aborted. It could be 75 Black Americans in this country if it wasn't for abortion.
Well, the problem is that they said that we account for maybe 13% of the population, but we account for 40% of the abortions. And so when I say that, that means even at 13% of the population, we're having abortions almost 3 to 1. And that's something that that's something that's going to hurt your community when you're trying to grow it and you're trying to replenish bodies and souls. And so that's an issue. And like I said, I'm not here to tell people that they can't get abortions. If you want to do it, you do it. But try to put yourself in a situation where you got to do it. If it's possible, if you have to, you have to. There are certain situations that are going to happen that are there. But at the same time, Black people have to understand that if you push certain things, certain policies, and certain lifestyles, that the amount of people that are going to be reborn in your communities are going to go down.
So Vineyard GHS says 0.3% of the population identifies as gay or lesbian. Why are we breaking our backs to make them happy, but the rest of the population we're told to give no F's about?
And see, that's the problem that a lot of people say that they're having, is that it's not just like giving them their rights. A lot of people say that you have to, you can't say anything negative. You can't debate with the people that are on the far left, and that you have to support them. And if you have a difference of opinion, you're homophobic. And see, that's a major concern for a lot of people. They feel like you don't have any room for dissension. And that's causing a lot of problems in a lot of different communities. And I think that that's a valid question for some people. Why are you going to break your back to make sure that they feel good? We want everybody to be comfortable. We don't want people to discriminate against. But I think some people feel like that's went too far. But at the same time, if you're a gay or lesbian person who has had to endure some of the things that they have to endure, then you feel a particular way. And I can't get mad at them for feeling that way. But the regular, normal people sometimes feel like that we're put in a box that we can't say anything. Like I got in a situation where Amin Khalif, the boxer. I said my daughter, I wouldn't allow them to fight Amin Khalif. And a lady from that community that had let her daughter or son transition came up and said something to me. And I was like, well, I'm not trying to be funny. You can do what you want to do with yours, but mine will not fight. And then they literally posted my comments on a big forum and people were coming at me. And I was like, what the just happened? It's like, I'm a man with a daughter who said, I'm going to make sure that somebody who might not be a regular woman can't punch her in the face so hard that she's going to turn away and run if she was a boxer. And there's nothing wrong with that. People shouldn't be coming at me because of that. Right. But people in that community actually came at me. And so you have to understand, like, I don't have anything against anybody, but there's some people that when you do that to a person like that, then they go like, man, forget F y'all. I don't care about y'all no more. Look how y'all just did me. And people have feelings, right? So, some people will feel that way. I don't feel that way, but at the same time, some people take it that way, and you got to be very careful about that kind of stuff.
Right. So Joe Donnelly said 13% of the population and among the poorest demographics. Why make a bunch of additional babies that we cannot even afford?
The deal is, and then that's the thing I try to tell people. That's a good question. But at the same time, if you make a baby, you just gotta make better decisions about making that baby and doing a better job of picking who have that baby with. And so when it comes down to that kind of stuff, we got to start having those serious questions. And then when you look at it, I mean, killing a baby. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny now, but like I have to think about that. And when I say think about like that, like killing something that's alive in you. I mean, that's a lot to think about. I don't know if people really think about it like that. Like that's something that didn't ask to be in there, and you're deciding to delete it. And I'm not going to take care of your kids, so I don't have a right to tell you not to do it. But at the same time, people have to think about that, and we have have a real conversation about that without saying that, oh, I'm trying to control a woman's body, and I'm not trying to do that. Do what you want to do, but just think about what you're doing.
Exactly. Listen. This has been a great show. I appreciate the audience. I appreciate the audience for his comments. I wish that somebody would have came up and gave us some feedback, but it's great that we do have so much conversation in the chat. That was good enough. Thanks to all the people that participated in the chat that had their comments. We will be back again here on next Sunday, same time, same bat channel.
Yes.
Thanks again, Jacoby. I'm going to play the Money Mantra song for you. Thank you for donating your $5 super chat. And please, if there's anyone else that would like to donate to our respective channels, please do that during the song. And here we go.
I am blessed to make money, money making money, money making money, money making money, money making money, manifest making money, money making money, money making money, money making money. I ain't stressed, making money, money making money, money making money, money making money. Gratitude is my attitude. I'm making money moves. Jewelry in the safe, piggy bank on full. And I'm living life abundant. I'm making money fast. I'm a money making magnet, making cold hard cash. I'm making money. Oh, I am blessed.
Thank you for the donation. And it's awesome to have people to donate. It does take money to keep these things going. So thank you for anyone who donates to the channels. Any final words that you would like to say, Calvin, before we wrap this show up?
Well, I would just say this. For anybody who's listening to me, take my comments with a grain of salt. I feel like everybody has a right to do whatever they want to do, live whatever lifestyle that they want to live. But the truth of the matter is we have to start having some real conversations about what we're going to do. Black people have to have some real conversations about what policies are being pushed that are actually going to benefit them. And we have to be able to openly talk about them. So if somebody doesn't like the fact that we're talking about our issues or that we're talking about their issues, putting us in a position where we lose power, where we lose influence, where we lose congressional seats because we went too far with their issue and didn't take care of our own. We need to be able to have those conversations and not have people try to shift us. I had a conversation with somebody from another community, and they're responsible. They just gonna have to wait. I'm like, the hell you mean we gotta wait? Like, I don't have to wait for anything. If I vote, I'm gonna vote for what's happening in my family right now. I'm gonna vote for what I need to do in the next year, next 6 months, next 2 years. I'm not gonna wait for you and your issues to be solved. I need my things done now. And people have to understand that. So it's great to want to champion all of these different communities and all these different people in their subgroups. But at the end of the day, you have to create a situation to win elections. And winning elections is going to be, number one, taking care of the people who vote for you the most. And number two, creating a lane for the common man to be able to vote and feel comfortable with voting for the Democratic Party again. And we have to have that conversation. If we don't do that, the Republicans will keep dog walking us into oblivion. So that's just where I'm at. And then when it comes to legal stuff, one last thing, and I'm going to tell y'all, don't think you're smart as a lawyer. Don't think you're smarter than the police officers. Understand your rights, but do not try to outsmart all of those people in those situations, because most of the time you're going to do something that you probably shouldn't. And you let the lawyers help you and do what you're supposed to do and make it to the next situation. If they make a mistake, hire you a lawyer, get you a good lawyer. He'll fight for you. And that's going to be that. But once again, I thank everybody for coming on, listening to us. 3 ways to get in touch with me: Attorney Calvin D. Johnson at gmail.com. Attorney Calvin D. Johnson at gmail.com is the is the email. They won't let me out.com is the website. And I can reach the 214-565-5600. And I want to be able to help the community and help people that watch this channel. Please support us. Mel, get well soon. Watching the World 777, get well soon. I'll be looking forward to seeing you next week. These are Genesis. We'll be talking, and God bless you, and you take care of yourself.
And one last question: will you be running for council this year?
I don't know. Probably. I don't know. People have been asking me about it. I'm not for sure yet. One problem that I have is I don't. I'll say this: I'm not a member of a sorority. I'm not a member of a Mason group. I'm not a member of these groups typically that push their candidates. I'm just an independent person who loves Southern Dallas, who loves the Dallas community, wants change. And if I run, I'm going to run on that. But I'm going to be a very, not say an anti-establishment candidate, but that's what I am going to be, because whatever's been happening in Dallas the last 60 years is not working. And so I'm going kamikaze. I mean, when I say I'm going kamikaze, I'm going out there solo. I'm firing whatever bullets I got, and whatever happens, happens. So that's kind of what I'm going to be at this point. I'm not trying to get into people's cliques. I'm not trying to get people to support me. At the end of the day, what has that gotten us? Nothing so far. So it is what it is. All right.
All right. Much love, you guys. Thank you for being here. Shouts out to the chat. Peace.
Thanks.